And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome everyone, speakers and participants, to this session on the R&I Days for Association to Horizon, Building Bridges for a Stronger European Research Area. My name is Carla Santos. I'm currently serving at the Portuguese Permanent Representation of Portugal to the EU. Portugal has been holding the presidency of the Council for this 6 months, almost coming to an end, and having been active in the questions of the European Research Area and international cooperation, it's a real pleasure to be the moderator of this session. Before we move on, let me just give you some brief practical information. You can ask questions in Slido. You can see the code on screen, hashtag RIDays EU, and you can also use chat for your questions. You can vote on questions as well, just put thumbs up, and please don't forget to name yourself and your organization when addressing the questions and indicate which panelist you're addressing the question to. And I will not go into details regarding the objectives of the session and the aims. For that, I have the pleasure to have here with me the Deputy Director General for DG Research and Innovation of the European Commission that will give us a welcome remark and give more insight regarding the aims and objectives of the session. So warm welcome to her here on the stage, and I'm happy to pass the floor to her. Please.
Many thanks, Carla, for your kind introduction. It's my great pleasure to welcome you all to this session. We've heard a lot about the new era this morning in various sessions. What I'd like to tackle here in this session is namely what could be the role of the countries which are associated to our program in the renewed era. So basically it's the two issues. First, how can associated countries contribute to ERA goals? And on the other hand, when they are part of ERA, how they can also contribute themselves. It gives me immense pleasure to be in this session in my capacity as Chief Negotiator of Horizon Europe Association. And I'm happy to open the session and share with you some of the thoughts which could be useful also for your further discussion. The renewed European research area builds on the original ambition to create a single market for research, innovation and technology. But it also expands and brings new objectives, such as to accelerate Europe's green and digital transformation, to strengthen Europe's resilience and preparedness to face future crises, and to support Europe's competitive edge in the global race for knowledge and innovative solutions. The 16 countries that are associated, have been associated to Horizon 2020 are already an integral part of this ambition and endeavor. And they have already contributed to ERA's goals and objectives in the past. The policy of association of third countries to Research and Innovation Framework Programme is the EU's deepest form of international cooperation that we are discussing as part of these sessions now. It is also a powerful factor for Europe's leadership in order to achieve the 4 objectives that we have in ERA in the context of global competitions. And let me mention these 4 objectives. First, the prioritization of investments and reforms to support the twin transitions and recovery. Secondly, the improvement of access to excellence, research and innovation at European level. Thirdly, effective economic spillover to reinforce competitive leadership in technology. And finally, progress on free circulation of knowledge, researchers, and technology ERA-wide. The association policy also converges with EU's political priorities, in particular the twin green and digital transition, but also the socio-economic recovery and the European contribution to a rules-based global order, promoting democracy and the European way of life. By doing so, it's also consistent with the 2030 Agenda and the Sustainable Development Goals. The potential associated countries have already a record of achievements that support EU's overarching political goals. They indicate a strong capacity to participate in the ERA actions, and in turn, they also reinforce Europe's capacity to lead at the global level. Let me just mention a few meaningful examples. Associated countries are strongly involved in supporting research and innovation dimension of the energy union, together with a forward-looking climate change policy, notably in areas such as renewables, batteries, hydrogen, and new storage solutions. Let me also mention joint actions in the Mediterranean, South Mediterranean area, in particular Israel and Tunisia, with the ambition to reach out to other Mediterranean countries to increase cooperation in renewables through research and innovation. For instance, via the East Gas Med project, solar power concentration, and desalination in the Middle East. In the context of COVID-19 pandemic, associated countries have already strongly contributed to the implementation of ERA versus Corona Action Plan, with a powerful representation in the calls which were launched both in January and May, as well as in the hackathon and matchathon in April-May, and the initiatives launched with global-level founders. Global partners such as Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, the Republic of Korea and Singapore could, by associating to the second pillar of Horizon Europe, also offer synergies to tackle global challenges. As you heard from the plenary session from our Commissioner, Gabriel, Canada is a front runner in this process, because very soon we are going to start exploratory talks with Canada for the association. And in this process, thanks certainly this contribution and cooperation can contribute to joint efforts in areas such as health, agriculture, agri-food, advanced manufacturing and aviation, ICT, research infrastructures, and researchers' mobility. And finally, the European Green Deal presents new opportunities for research and innovation with associated countries. For example, in the ERA, industrial roadmaps, S3 white paper, ERICS, and so on. So in the course of this session, we can demonstrate with very concrete examples coming from Israel, Iceland, and Western Balkans, how working with associated countries can contribute to the new European research area. Now the floor is yours.
Your country copes with many challenges. Now you can manage those challenges better through the power of global unity in association with the European countries. Discover the enormous potential of the new EU Research and Innovation Programme, Horizon Europe, which is investing about 100 billion euros in research and innovation. Now you can be a part of the world's largest collaboration programme. Contribute to a global pool of investments and resources and tackle global challenges such as climate change, food security, water scarcity, cybercrime, clean energy, and infectious diseases. Like the project to tackle the world's viruses, EU research and innovation funding empowers urgent research into Ebola, Zika, MERS, and of course, COVID-19 for the benefit of humanity. Get access to the world's leading infrastructures for research and innovation. such as the colossal project aimed at connecting research and education across Europe and beyond. Strengthen your country's economy and society through ever-growing multipolar systems, like when countering extreme and violent radicalization through innovation and new technologies. Participate in joint science and research facilities and enjoy limitless global co-creation with the best of science in Europe and beyond. As when aiding Europe in the fight against iodine deficiency. Create strong political alliances and participate in global research with like-minded countries. Share and receive research ideas through protected and safe channels. You should not miss out on the opportunity to take your collaboration with the EU on research and innovation to the next level and become an associated country. Join the new European Programme for Research and Innovation. Join Horizon Europe.
Thank you very much to Deputy Director General Sinye Hatso for her introductory words. And now it's my turn to warmly welcome our three speakers. And I would start with Ms. Nili Shalev from Israel. You have been since 2021 Vice President to the International Division of the Israeli Innovation Authority, responsible for implementing its international strategy. You have been more than 28 years experiencing in a wide range of executive positions, including Director General for the Israel EU R&D Directorate at the Innovation Authority, responsible for implementing Israel association to the program. So you are the best person to be here with us. Welcome. Let me just say a few words of praise to Israel that has been working together in science and innovation with the EU since 1996, when Israel was associated to the Framework Programme. Israel has been having an extraordinary participation in the Framework Programme since then. In Horizon 2020, an outstanding participation in the ERC, but as well the first from the associated countries in the SME instrument, also in the EIC pilot. So congratulations to that. And let me ask you the following. Considering that Israel is one of the most active associated countries in the previous program, Horizon 2020, in particular in the ERC, how do you think Israel can contribute to the fulfillment of the European research area goals? And can you provide concrete examples? And bearing in mind that Israel is a leading innovation nation, could you please explain how this trend embedded in the EU-Israel cooperation could have a positive impact on the EU? So over to you, and a warm welcome.
Thank you very much, Carla, and thank you, Signe. And so first and foremost, I must congratulate the EU and the Commission for launching the work program on Horizon Europe. And I'm very glad that Israeli participants have also the possibility to apply, although we are just now starting our negotiation on association, but we have a long-lasting collaboration, and I assume that due to this strong collaboration, we are continuing the path of participating in the Horizon Europe, and we hopefully expect that this will continue throughout the whole program. So I think that Israel, there are two very wide questions, and I hope that I will manage to give you some examples and also the importance of this collaboration, both to EU as well as to Israel, of course. Israel has been associated for 25 years, and this is the main platform for R&D collaboration to Israeli academia and industry. So this is probably our strongest collaboration in R&D worldwide, and we have a wide range of, so we are very involved in international R&D collaboration, also with countries that were mentioned like South Korea, Singapore, Canada, the US, of course, but we have probably the strongest links of R&D collaboration with the EU, and due to this unique and extensive program. So Israel, as you may know, invests heavily in research and innovation. This is our main asset, and we invested 4.8% of our GDP in research and innovation. And what's interesting here, that mostly it is done by the private sector. So we see that the private sector is heavily involved in transforming innovation into economic value and impact. And we see it also in our collaboration in the EU platform. So we see high involvement of the private sector. It grew also in the last couple of years. We see high involvement of the private sector in collaboration with European partners, bringing economic value to the EU and collaborating on strategic goals of the EU and ERA goals. What we can also see that a European Framework Programme influences quite dramatically also the Israeli policies and priorities. So we definitely are looking and aligning our policies with those of the EU, especially in Green Deal, in digital, and of course in health. I think that COVID-19 increased collaboration between health institutions, between health infrastructure, and also policies, as well as innovative solutions. So it was a time of high collaboration. I think that we also are looking to take an active part in the partnerships. We align also other ministries with the priorities and the partnerships that are being established. And over there, we also see, hopefully we'll see the alignment of real activities in the areas of priorities that the EU has decided to put emphasis on. So besides our financial contribution to the program as an associated country, which has been substantial to Israel throughout the years, I think that we feel that we contribute to the EU as well as to the Israeli academic and innovative communities that also help align policies and really put emphasis on stronger together, bringing Israeli innovation together with EU innovation to make the world a better place in areas of priorities that were described.
Thank you very much, Ms. Shlev. Indeed, it's a win-win situation, and for sure the extending collaboration will continue in Horizon Europe. And now it's my turn to welcome Ambassador Christian Andri Stephensen, who is head of the mission of Iceland to the EU since 2020. He's also bilateral ambassador of Iceland to the Benelux countries, and has held several positions, including as permanent representative to the OECD, UNESCO, and the Council of Europe. So indeed, Ambassador knows the importance of research and innovation since he has gone through a lot of positions dealing with the topic. Let me say that Iceland has been a strong player in the European R&I system over the last 25 years, associated to the Framework Programme since 1994, and from the associated countries, the sixth most active associated country. But it's not only the participation in Horizon Europe, it's also the involvement in the European research area. So being part of the single market, Iceland has also been implementing and cooperating with the EU in the European research area and in the Framework Programme. So a warm welcome, and let me ask you the following. The new era is a powerful instrument for the European global science, technology and innovation leadership. Could you please provide concrete examples of what the strategic objectives or actions mean in relation to Iceland's contribution, and how they can be game changers, opening at the same time opportunities for Iceland? So over to you.
Yes, well, thank you, Carla. And first of all, thank you to the Commission for this welcome opportunity to shed light on Iceland's participation in the EU framework programs and the European research area. I think in these demanding times, it's more important than ever that we work together to build the environment and capacity to produce excellent research in the European context. Our collaboration with the EU in this field builds on the firm ground set out in the agreement that we have made with the European Commission and creates the European Economic Area that we usually refer to as the EEA, and basically extends the internal market to the 3 EEA EFTA states, that is Iceland, Norway, and Liechtenstein. For over 25 years, this agreement, the EEA agreement, has guaranteed equal treatment, legal certainty, and predictable conditions for our citizens and businesses. And in fact, we consider our participation in EU programs as an important factor to achieve these goals. We are subsequently in a very different category to third countries who negotiate bilateral association agreements for each programming period, whereas all terms of EEA EFTA states' participation in EU programs, including our rights, obligation, and financial modalities, are set out in this agreement. Well, this makes us obviously very, very close collaborators. We contribute actively to shaping EEA-relevant EU legislation and programs through our participation in EU committees and expert groups. Past and current framework programs have been a key driver for active and successful collaboration of our scientists with their peers all over Europe. And this has indeed been particularly relevant when it comes to programs in research and innovation. Well, as you pointed out in your introduction, the Icelandic experience from Horizon 2020 has been very positive, with the success rate having been roughly 19%. This is well above the EU average. And the experience from participation in Erasmus Plus has also been very good. All universities and most education institutes in Iceland participate in that. And it is in fact estimated that around 40,000 people, or that is 1 in every 10 Icelanders, have participated in the EU programs since 1992, which is quite a remarkable proportion of our population. That is, by the way, counts only with some 360,000 souls. So, as we know, the idea of creating a single market for research dates back 20 years. During this time, member states and the associated countries have worked towards setting joint research objectives with the ambition to raise public and private research funding. Now, the road towards this goal has been bumpy at times, but we now see an increased ambition in the new era, where EU ministers have again pledged to reach the target of 3% of GDP by 2030. And Iceland very much welcomed this greater ambition, and we are working decidedly towards reaching that same target. My government has pushed for increased action in the field of research and innovation during this term, and the Icelandic National Research and Innovation Policy and Action Plan echo many of the objectives in the new era. This is, for example, true when it comes to the importance of active participation of citizens with the aim of building trust between science and society. Well, I suppose my 3 minutes are probably up by now, but I would be happy to provide some more examples during our questions and answer session, if you like.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Stephenson, and thank you very much for your words. Indeed, Iceland has an excellent performance in the framework program, but also has been participating quite strongly in the implementation of the European research area. And thank you very much for the support to the ERA objectives, including the 3% of GDP and the science and society objectives. Indeed, very much welcomed. And now it's I would turn to Western Balkans example, and I warmly welcome Ms. Maja Handiska-Trendafilova. Welcome. You are the head of program department of the Regional Cooperation Council, leading the coordination of the Common Regional Market Agenda. Prior, you held the position of the Southeast Europe 2020 Strategy and Regional Economic Area Coordinator, working in many regional cooperation initiatives. So a very warm welcome. Let me just say a few words of appreciation also to the Western Balkans engagement in the framework program and also in the European research area. I had the opportunity during the presidency to participate in the Western Balkans steering platform for research and innovation and witness the commitment of all the countries in this process and in the development of the important future the Western Balkans agenda for innovation, research, culture, education, youth and sport. So indeed, it's a priority for the Union, and I know it's a priority for the Western Balkans, so it's very good to have you here. And let me ask the following questions. What are the main ERA priorities and challenges for the region? How can the region's national research and innovation frameworks contribute to the ERA objectives? And how can the common regional market objectives and priorities align with the ERA objectives and actions in raising excellence for all R&I actors in the region? Over to you.
Okay, thank you very much for, of course, inviting the Regional Cooperation Council to be here with you today. Actually, the region's strategic goal in the field of research and innovation is clear, and that is full convergence with the European Research and Innovation Area and association to Horizon Europe. And our region aims to leverage on the integration into ERA to spur the R&I required reforms and actually design the new policies that can contribute to creating the R&I systems that work for the wider communities. And this is particularly well reflected in what you refer to the regional innovation area agenda of the Common Regional Market Action Plan that is going to be implemented in the next 4 years. And actually this action plan has the highest political buy-in endorsed by our prime ministers, by our leaders, as an instrument for creating the dynamic regional innovation ecosystems. So what the CRM, the Common Regional Market, envisages is innovation as the key tool for sustainable economic recovery and transformation of priority industrial sectors in the region. So, of course, apart from association to Horizon Europe, our Common Regional Market agenda will build on close cooperation also with EU organizations such as the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, EURECA, the Coast Association, Enterprise Europe Network, and of course, all the other relevant partners. And actually, our region confronts similar challenges, be this the modest scientific productivity and innovation performance that also translates to low absorption of EU funds, be this the still underdeveloped cooperation between the research and business communities, and of course, still inadequate investments in our R&I. So now to minimize actually the disparities between our region and of course the EU average, we really need to step up the efforts into more focused investment in R&I that reinforce economic growth. And this is especially important for the creation of startups and the developments of what we see as priority sector, be this auto, metal processing, agro-food, creative, and green and circular economy. So let me now come to my main point, which is actually with the assistance of the EU, that has been the key driver in terms of the region's R&I transformational journey in the recent year. This is doable and possible. And actually, for instance, our performance in Horizon 2020 is a telling example. Actually, more than 900 beneficiaries participated in over 530 projects of Horizon 2020, and actually with a total European contribution amounting to 160 million euros, starting for very modest 10 million at the beginning, and of course reaching around 30 million in 2020. Another positive example that I'd like to share with you is the participation of individual and female researchers in the POST program that doubled between 14 and 19, and also the number of leadership positions held by Western Balkan researchers is also showing a steep rise. In the recent months, we are also happy to see other positive news, be this the joining of Bosnia and Herzegovina in the European Innovation Scorecard, or the fact that both Bosnia and Albania have been awarded the full membership status and Eureka. And now just few words as you made the link with the Common Regional Market and the alignment with ERA. I mean, as Commissioner Gabriel really put it, we need to strengthen ERA embracing all of Europe, because of course knowledge has no territorial boundaries, and actually Common Regional Market resonates the spirit of ERA, this single borderless market for researchers and innovation champions, both across the region and beyond. And what is now RCC's role? Of course, in order to enable this free flow of knowledge and technology, we are instrumental in providing networking opportunities of various innovation subgroups, be this network on open access research infrastructure, or women in STEM. We are networking the region's digital innovation hubs, etc. So these are the actions that we are undertaking to improve the access to excellence for researchers, innovators, and businesses all over the region, of course, to help also bring our regional champions closer to the EU single market. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much as well, Maya. Indeed, an impressive couple of actions that are in place for the full conversion and integration with the ERA. And thank you also for showing us how the participation in the framework program has been increasing quite significantly, including of women participating in the program, which is quite important. We have 15 minutes towards the end of the session, so it's time to go to the Q&A. And I see that already on the screen we have a few questions. Let me start with the first one. What would be the benefits for the society and the economy of your country in being part of the ERA beyond the research and innovation integration? Maybe I would turn to Nili, probably. Israel, what would you think about it?
So I think it's the alignment is much more than just R&D collaboration. I think the alignment is policy priorities. I think it's tackling challenges. So without a doubt, we see benefits to both sides, and we see how the policy contributes also to prioritizing our activities as well. I would maybe touch upon also just the previous question that you asked, and it shows also the benefits for Israeli companies as well as for European landscape, and this is the increased participation of private companies in the European Framework Programme, and this is an increase as compared to the beginning of the program. We saw with the introduction of the EAC additional Israeli companies participating. I think this created huge opportunities for Israeli companies as well as for the EU itself. We saw a larger number of companies introducing new technologies to the European market. This is a win-win situation. We saw a larger amount of companies establishing a foothold in Europe, developing new technologies, collaborating with local partners, also employing high-paid jobs and more people in Europe. So there is a very strong impact of this collaboration, which of course benefits the Israeli participants as well as the European partners. So I think this collaboration creates high value to both sides.
Definitely. Thank you very much. And I would turn to Ambassador Stephenson. There's also a question. Could you give some examples of Horizon 2020 or FP7 funded projects with the beneficiaries from Iceland, which have been recognized as success stories? Please, over to you.
Indeed, thank you, Carla. In fact, Deputy Director General Razzo mentioned the field of energy, and that is indeed a field where my country is in a leading position when it comes to renewable energies, with geothermal power being a prominent resource, well, both in house heating and production of electricity. And Iceland is indeed also going a step beyond now. Due to the rapid progression of climate change, renewables are no longer enough. So to speak, countries and industries must strive to be also carbon negative, which is the direction Iceland is headed in. An example of this is the cutting-edge carbon capture and storage company Carbfix, which has demonstrated and scaled up carbon capture solutions at a remarkable pace. In very simple terms, Carbfix dissolves CO2 in water, injects it into the ground, and turns it into stone in less than 2 years through proprietary technology. Well, for the Carbfix technology to work, one needs only 3 things: favorable rocks, water, and a source of carbon dioxide. And the project is a collaboration between industry and academia, and through international research and innovation and cooperation, and with the help from EU funding, such as the 7th Framework Programme and Horizon 2020. And with this, it has moved fast from research to deployment and has great ambition for the future. So CARPEX is indeed the type of groundbreaking project that we need to reach the goal of the European Green Deal, and we should take good care to nurture this European cooperation that I firmly believe that is in our common interests, and we are better served that way.
Thank you very much for those examples. Indeed, I'm sure it's for the common interest, and more will come in Horizon Europe. And now I would turn to Maya. There's a question for you. Can you give examples of projects with beneficiaries from the Western Balkan countries which demonstrate that working with associated countries contributes to the new European research area? Let's hear from you.
Sure, thank you. I mean, of course, there are many interesting projects funded under Horizon 2020 that deserve to be mentioned. Of course, allow me in this rather limited time frame to focus on a couple of them. I mean, for us, an exceptional example of teaming project in Horizon 2020 is the Antares project, which was actually aimed to develop advanced technologies for sustainable agriculture and food security. And actually, the project's overall goal is to transform one of the region's partner, Biosense Institute, into a European center of excellence for advanced technologies in sustainable agriculture and food security. And really, this project brings benefits to its partners by combining ICT and agricultural science. And so this has been really one of the flagship projects. There is another important project that I'd like to mention. It relates to the EU for Tech capacity building for technology transfer in the Western Balkans, which offered support to more than 40 promising technology-based projects from the region. And there is also a follow-up project that is currently assisting the innovative initiatives in the region in the proof of concept stage. And of course, like in the other countries, there have been several projects that are addressing the important societal challenges, be this on preventing violent extremism, looking into closing the gap between formal and informal institution, or reclaiming the cities into what was once, I mean, the post-Yugoslav space. So, and I'm stopping here just to say that another very fresh example, a project that is about to start next month, so that's why it's a pleasure for me to touch upon this. This is on promoting responsible research and innovation in the Western Balkans, that actually really fits perfectly well into the spirit and the ambition of the common regional market. So back to you.
Thank you very much. We can also see the societal impact of the projects, which is also very important. And I think we only have time for one last question, and maybe I would turn to Deputy Director General Sinjehat. So there's a question: when will the association agreements be signed? So probably you could shed some light over that.
Well, thank you very much. I guess this is really the question that is interesting a lot of people, particularly those researchers, scientists in the countries which are potential associated countries to our program. Now, as you know, now that we have already Horizon Europe program adopted, we've started now the formal negotiations, because we couldn't start them before we had the legal basis, so to speak. And we really plan and, well, hope and plan to complete these association negotiations by the end of this year, so that all the countries which will be associated, re-associated to our program, can be associated to the new program without any gap in time. And we already have transitional measures in place so that already the beneficiaries from the countries who are re-associating to our program can already participate in the calls. As you noticed, also now the work program, the main work program for the first 2 years was very recently published.
Thank you very much, Sinje. And since we have 6 minutes and a half for the end of the session, I would ask for very, very short takeaways from our distinguished speakers. And I will start with Nili Shalev. Very shortly, what would be your takeaway from the session?
definitely that we are looking forward to continue the association. This has been a very good ride on both sides. We are looking to improve elements, and I think that there's always room for improvement. Otherwise, we are in research and innovation, so rooms for improvement from our perspective would be strengthening collaboration with European partners. Without a doubt, we want to see Israel excels in individual grants, but we want to see in mono-beneficiary, we want to see stronger collaboration and increase this opportunities. And also, we want to see additional private sector and more private sector involvement for the benefit of both sides. So this is where we're going to put our emphasis, and hopefully it will work it will be as successful as it was before.
Thank you very much, Nili. And Ambassador Stephenson, in 3 words, what would be your takeaways from the session?
Well, I think it's beyond doubt that the EA cooperation in this field has invigorated and strengthened cultural activities and educational institutions in Iceland to a greater degree than anyone had anticipated. And I dare say that few nations have been as active as Icelanders in taking advantage of the opportunities for diverse cultural relations in research, teaching, the arts, and studies. So in my mind, in order to meet the challenges of the future, it's important for us to work together across borders. And Iceland is indeed dedicated to its continued participation in the European research area and Horizon Europe.
Excellent, thank you very much. And now I turn to Ms. Maya Trendafilova. So Maya, your final words.
Thank you very much. I mean, my final word, we in the region have no doubt that better integration of the Western Balkans researchers into ERA and the European Research and Innovation Networks will really yield significant benefits, as also rightly recognized in the enlargement strategy. And despite the positive signals that we have, and for instance, today we launched the Balkan Barometer, so we do see COVID propelling and showing the innovation potential of the region. Of course, we need to be realistic. Much more needs to be done for a significant increase in innovative potential, and this concerns both introducing updated policies and instruments, earmarking more funds for research and innovation, of course, doubling all our efforts in terms of absorption of the upcoming funds. So thank you very much for this.
Thank you very much to you too, and thank you to all the 3 distinguished speakers that have joined us today. For the 3 last minutes, I would ask Deputy Director General Sinja Hatso for the closing remarks and for the main takeaways of the session. It has been a pleasure to join you for this session. So please, over to you.
Many thanks, Carla, for this excellent sharing. Many thanks to all our speakers for giving your insights of how you see also your contribution to ERA and the other way around. In this session, we've heard examples from 3 different countries, from Iceland, which is part of the EAA, and as we heard, very, very closely integrated already with the single market. Then the example of Israel, the country of which we know of the excellence research, but also as an innovation leader. And also an example from the Western Balkan countries, which are in the process of acceding to the EU, and certainly can use association to Horizon Europe of pushing forward the reforms which are still needed in the area of research and innovation. But I think that there was also very clear alignment of the objectives. The objectives that you highlighted, the objectives that you share also with the renewed European research area. Just to mention the twin green and digital transitions, the recovery, job creation, sustainable growth. I think these were all the things that you mentioned, and we also share in the European research area. You also highlighted the importance of investing more into research and innovation, and we have a very clear shared target in the European research area. This is certainly something which will be needed. And last but not least, inclusion of associated countries which have strong research and innovation ecosystems will certainly reinforce further European research and innovation quality, and will also facilitate the global leadership of Europe and European research area in the coming years. So many thanks to all of you, and also many thanks to the audience of taking active participation in this session.